I never thought I'd be having this conversation, let alone sharing my own experience. But here I am, and I know I'm not alone. When I turned 60, I started noticing a shift in how people looked at me. It was as if the world had decided I was done with passion, with desire, with the thrill of intimacy. Friends joked about that part of life being over, and society seemed to nod in agreement. But inside, I knew that wasn't true. I still felt the warmth of longing, the need for closeness, and the simple joy of feeling good in my own skin. That's when I made a decision. Instead of accepting the outdated notion that pleasure fades with age, I leaned into self-care in a way I never had before. And that included embracing self-pleasure not just as an indulgence, but as a vital part of my well-being. What I didn't expect was how much it would change me. The stress that used to weigh on my shoulders felt lighter. I slept better, my body felt more alive, and, most importantly, I felt connected to myself. It was like reclaiming a part of me that had been lost under years of stigma and silence. And here's what I've learned. Self-pleasure isn't just about physical release. It's about self-love, about honoring our bodies, and about keeping the spark of life alive no matter how many candles are on the birthday cake. So if you've ever wondered whether pleasure has an expiration date, let me tell you it absolutely doesn't. And I can't wait to share why. As I leaned into this new chapter of self-care, I started doing some research. What I found surprised me. Self-pleasure isn't just about feeling good in a moment. It's a powerful tool for overall health, with benefits that go far beyond what most people realize. For men like me, one of the biggest revelations was the connection between self-pleasure and prostate health. Studies show that regular ejaculation can help reduce the risk of prostate cancer. That alone was enough to make me take this practice more seriously, but it didn't stop there. For women, self-pleasure can ease menstrual cramps by increasing blood flow and releasing muscle tension. I have a dear friend, Linda, who used to struggle with painful periods well into menopause. When she learned that self-pleasure could help, she started embracing it as part of her routine. Now, she swears it made those tough days far more manageable. And then there's stress, something we all carry. Life throws worries at us, whether it's health concerns, financial pressures, or simply the weight of getting older. But here's the thing. Self-pleasure releases endorphins, those wonderful feel-good hormones that melt stress away. I felt it firsthand on tough days. A little self-care can turn everything around. Sleep? Better. Headaches? Fewer. Overall mood? Brighter. This isn't just about pleasure. It's about wellness. It's about taking control of our own happiness, our own health, and refusing to let outdated ideas hold us back. If this resonated with you, let's keep the conversation going. Subscribe to my channel for more honest, empowering discussions about aging, self-care, and living fully, because our best years are still ahead of us. The more I explored this topic, the more I realized that self-pleasure isn't just about pleasure, it's about well-being. It's about giving our bodies the attention and care they deserve, not just for the sake of enjoyment, but for our long-term health. Take prostate health, for example. As a man, I never really thought about my prostate until I got older and started hearing stories from friends who were facing health concerns. But research shows that regular ejaculation can actually help flush out harmful toxins from the prostate and lower the risk of prostate cancer. That's a fact too important to ignore. For women, the benefits are just as profound. My friend Linda, whom I mentioned earlier, used to dread her menstrual cycle, even in her later years when she still experienced occasional cramps. But when she learned that self-pleasure could improve circulation and relieve pelvic tension, everything changed. She started seeing it not as a guilty indulgence, but as a natural, healthy way to support her body. And stress? Let's be honest. Life doesn't get easier as we age. Responsibilities shift, health challenges arise, and sometimes we carry more emotional weight than we realize. But self-pleasure has a way of releasing that tension. The endorphins and oxytocin released during the process aren't just about momentary bliss. They actively reduce stress, improve mood, and even help with anxiety. I've felt this personally on days when I can't shake the weight of the world. This simple act reminds me to be present, to breathe, and to reconnect with myself. It also does wonders for sleep. If you've ever struggled with restless nights, you know how frustrating it can be to lie awake, worrying about things you can't control. But self-pleasure promotes relaxation, helping the body ease into sleep naturally. And headaches? There's research suggesting that self-pleasure can reduce tension headaches and even migraines by increasing blood flow and releasing natural painkillers in the body. This isn't just some lighthearted topic. It's a conversation about real health benefits that can improve the quality of our lives. If you found this helpful, make sure to subscribe to my channel. Together, let's break the stigma, embrace self-care, and live healthier, happier lives, one conversation at a time. As I continued my journey of self-discovery and self-care, I realized something troubling. So many of us have been taught to feel ashamed of something that is completely natural. I grew up hearing whispers things like, older people don't need sex anymore, or self-pleasure is selfish and wrong. But as I learned more, I saw just how misguided those beliefs really are. Let's start with the first myth. When you get older, you stop wanting intimacy. That couldn't be further from the truth. The desire for connection, closeness, and even physical pleasure doesn't magically disappear after a certain age. It simply evolves. The way we experience pleasure may change due to hormonal shifts, health conditions, or even personal preferences, but the need for intimacy, whether alone or with a partner, remains. Many older adults still experience strong sexual desire, and nurturing that aspect of life can lead to deeper emotional connections and a greater sense of well-being. Now, let's tackle the second myth: self-pleasure is bad or unhealthy. I used to believe that too, mostly because of the messages society drilled into us. But the truth is, self-pleasure isn't just normal, it's beneficial. It's a form of self-care. It helps regulate stress, promotes better sleep, supports reproductive health, and even boosts self-esteem. It allows us to understand our bodies better, making intimacy with a partner even more fulfilling. Yet, so many people still feel embarrassed about it. Why? Because for generations, we've been told that pleasure should be hidden, that it's something shameful. But think about it. Would we ever tell someone that enjoying a delicious meal, taking a long bath, or meditating was wrong? Of course not. So why should self-pleasure, something that helps relieve stress, promotes happiness, and even has health benefits, be treated any differently? I remember the first time I really challenged these ideas. I was talking to a close friend, Michael, who, at 65, told me he had completely stopped thinking about his own pleasure because he felt it was inappropriate at his age. When I shared what I had learned, that it was actually good for his body and mind, his entire perspective shifted. He told me later that embracing this part of himself again made him feel more alive than he had in years. So if you've ever felt that you had to suppress your desires or that self-pleasure was something to be ashamed of, I want you to know this: you deserve to feel good in your own body at any age. If this conversation has opened your mind or made you think differently, I invite you to subscribe to my channel. Let's break these outdated taboos together and embrace a healthier, happier approach to self-care and intimacy. As I kept exploring this topic, I realized just how many myths and misunderstandings exist around self-pleasure, especially when it comes to men's health. One of the biggest misconceptions I've heard, and maybe you have too, is the idea that self-pleasure lowers testosterone levels in men. It's a belief that has been around for decades, whispered among gym goers, passed around in online forums, and even reinforced by outdated advice. But is it actually true? The answer is no. The reality is much more complex than the myth suggests. Scientific research shows that while testosterone levels may experience a temporary drop immediately after orgasm, they return to normal shortly after. In fact, regular ejaculation, whether through intimacy with a partner or self-pleasure, does not deplete testosterone levels in any significant or long-term way. On the contrary, suppressing natural sexual urges for long periods of time can sometimes lead to increased stress and anxiety, which can have a negative impact on testosterone production. But let's take this a step further. Some studies even suggest that moderate, regular self-pleasure may support healthy hormone balance by reducing cortisol, the stress hormone that can interfere with testosterone production. When we're overly stressed, our bodies prioritize survival over reproduction, which can actually lead to lower testosterone over time. So rather than being harmful, self-pleasure can be a natural way to relieve stress and support overall hormonal health. And this doesn't just apply to men. Women, too, experience hormonal benefits from self-pleasure. The release of oxytocin and dopamine helps regulate mood, promote relaxation, and even ease menstrual cramps. Yet, for some reason, society has made people feel guilty for engaging in something that their bodies are naturally designed to do. I remember talking to my friend Michael about this. After years of believing that he needed to preserve his testosterone by avoiding self-pleasure, he was surprised to learn that his approach might have been doing more harm than good. When he finally allowed himself to embrace this part of self-care again, he noticed a difference not just in his mood, but in his overall sense of well-being. The truth is, self-pleasure is not the enemy. It's not something that weakens you or diminishes your masculinity. In fact, it can be a powerful tool for stress relief, hormone balance, and overall health. So if you've ever heard this myth and believed it, I encourage you to reconsider. Your body is not working against you. It's designed to thrive when you take care of it. And self-pleasure? It's just one of the many ways you can do that. If you found this insight valuable, don't forget to subscribe to my channel. Let's continue challenging these outdated myths and embracing a healthier, more informed perspective on self-care. And as I continued my journey of understanding self-care and intimacy, I came to another realization, one that I wish more people talked about. The idea that sexuality fades with age? It's simply not true. What does happen, however, is that our relationship with pleasure evolves. And that's something to embrace, not fear. I remember a conversation I had with my friend Michael. He once told me, I thought by the time I hit my 60s, all of this would just stop mattering, like my body would just shut off that part of my life. But he was wrong. What he learned, and what many others have discovered, is that desire doesn't vanish. It just changes. And those changes can bring about new ways of experiencing pleasure, connection, and fulfillment. For men, maybe it's about learning that intimacy isn't just about performance, but about connection. For women, maybe it's realizing that their own pleasure is just as important now as it was in their younger years. And for everyone, it's understanding that aging doesn't mean losing touch with one's body, it means learning to listen to it in new ways. Society has conditioned us to believe that past a certain age, Topics like self-pleasure, intimacy, and desire should be left behind. But why? Why should we give up something that brings us joy, relaxation, and a sense of connection to ourselves and our partners? The truth is, we shouldn't. Instead, we should embrace it with the same curiosity and openness we had in our younger years, because every stage of life deserves pleasure, love, and care. So, if this is something you've ever questioned, I encourage you to look at it differently. Your desires, your needs, your pleasure, they are still valid, and they always will be. As I reflected more on this journey, I realized that self-pleasure isn't just about physical sensation, it's about something deeper. It's an act of self-love, a way to reconnect with ourselves in a world that often teaches us to ignore our own needs. For years, I, like many others, thought of self-pleasure in a limited way, as something purely physical. But as I've grown older, I've come to understand that it's also a form of self-care. Just like meditation, a warm bath, or a quiet walk in nature, self-pleasure can be a way to check in with yourself, to relieve stress, to release tension, and to honor your own well-being. I remember a time when my friend Evelyn shared her perspective with me. She had spent most of her life putting others first: her children, her husband, her career. But after her 60th birthday, she made a conscious decision to reclaim her body as her own. For the first time in years, she told me, I started treating my body with kindness instead of just ignoring what I needed. She spoke about how moments of self-pleasure helped her feel alive, helped her sleep better, and even made her feel more confident in her own skin. That's the beauty of self-love. It's about so much more than just pleasure. It's about connection, both with our own bodies and with the idea that we deserve joy, comfort, and care at every stage of life. So, if you've ever felt hesitant or unsure about prioritizing yourself, let this be a reminder: you are worth it. And if you found value in this conversation, don't forget to subscribe to my channel. Let's keep exploring, learning, and embracing ourselves together. At the heart of this conversation lies a powerful message. Self-love and self-care are not luxuries, they are necessities. As we age, our bodies change, our priorities shift, and our experiences shape us in new ways. But one thing remains constant: our need for connection with ourselves and with others. Self-pleasure is not just about physical gratification. It's a way to nurture our well-being, to reduce stress, to sleep better, and to remind ourselves that we matter. Like my friend Evelyn, many of us spend years prioritizing others, our families, our careers, our responsibilities. But at some point, we must ask, what about me? Taking time for ourselves, embracing our desires, and honoring our bodies is an act of self-respect. It's a way to reclaim joy, to celebrate our own existence, and to recognize that aging does not mean fading away, it means evolving. So, I leave you with this. How do you practice self-care? What are the ways you reconnect with yourself? Share your thoughts in the comments below. And if this conversation resonated with you, don't forget to like this video, subscribe to Senior Moments Matter, and join our growing community. Let's keep learning, sharing, and embracing life at every age.